Embracing diversity in classroom is important for many different reasons. One reason is because it can prepare students for the real world and learn how to work with people different from themselves. I grew up in a small city in Michigan and went to a small Catholic school from kindergarten to 8th grade. I grew up in a classroom with pretty much the same 30 kids all 9 years. I built very close relationships with my classmates and the staff at the school. This provided me with a good education in childhood, but the problem with my school is the lack of diversity. This service learning site I am at is a free after-school tutoring site for children who live in the apartment complex surrounding the building. Almost all the children that attend the tutoring are African American and come from low-income families. It is so much fun working with these students, but at first I was resistant because I was worried I wouldn't be able to relate to them or understand things that were going on in their lives. Although I loved my school, I wish it had more diversity because having diversity in the classroom shows young children how to accept and understand different people and their cultures.
Another reason diversity in classrooms is important is because if we don't talk about diversity in other cultures, stereotypes cannot be addressed. I also went to a small Catholic school until 8th grade and was very sheltered. The topic of culture and diversity was never talked about at school or at home, which gave me a very limited information and knowledge about anyone outside my bubble in Plymouth, Michigan. Going into 9th grade, I found out my family and I were moving to China, and I had a very negative mindset about the whole situation. I was so negative about it because I had only heard negative things about China either through the media or the people around me. However, living in China was the most amazing experience, and I wouldn't trade that opportunity for anything. My negative assumptions and stereotypes about China prevented me from having an open mind, and if I had had an open mind, I'm sure my experiences could have been even better than they already were. At my service learning, I work with a classroom full of kindergartners. Even though they are young, I've noticed that racial stereotypes are already starting to form. The fact that stereotypes are forming is problematic, but what I find most problematic is that nothing is being done to challenge those stereotypes. If cultural differences and diversity were talked about in school more, it's very possible that the stereotypes and negative assumptions would be countered.
Necessary and should be implemented by teachers, especially when the students marginalize themselves by their race, culture, or gender. The schools I attended before Michigan State lacked diversity, and because of that, I did not feel very culturally knowledgeable when I first came to MSU. For my service learning opportunity, I worked with 4th grade students at Atwood Elementary School on math, reading, and music. The students at Atwood are very culturally diverse, with many of the students coming from a low-income family. The diversity at Atwood creates some tension among the students, and I see racial stereotyping as well as children not being embraced by others because of their situation outside of school. The teachers at Atwood are very aware that this is going on, and they try to confront the problems that arise, while also trying to incorporate different cultures in their lesson plans for the students. Another thing I've noticed there is that the teachers try to seat the students together who wouldn't normally associate themselves otherwise. Once the teacher creates this interaction among the students, most of the students worked well together and they became actively engaged and asked questions. It's important to understand that although there are differences between students from different backgrounds, it is likely that they will have many similarities as well. This interaction implemented by teachers allows students to see this, and in turn the students will become more knowledgeable about the students' differences.
Because it's important to include everyone to prevent people from feeling less important and less relevant. Confidence is a big factor of education, and making sure to maintain a culturally competent classroom goes a long way in building this confidence. Creating an environment where everyone is welcome and everyone feels safe breeds growth in the individual. Coming from a diverse high school, I experienced it in some ways, but never to this magnitude. For my service learning project, I work in an ESL classroom at East Lansing High School. The teacher, Mary Lou Turnbull, does a great job in making sure everyone is involved, engaged, and comfortable. Being in a classroom where so many different cultures are presented, it can be difficult to make sure everyone is represented, but Mary Lou works tirelessly on her lesson plan to do just that. From the way she asks her questions to the formation of her lesson plan, every move she makes is calculated and analyzed so that every member of her classroom and every culture is recognized in the same light.
Thanks to the service learning project presented by MSU, we have gained a new understanding of how to be culturally competent in the classroom, and we also learned how cultural competence in a classroom can affect students. Some of us grew up without diversity and different cultures being embraced in our classrooms, and this experience gave us insight into the struggle that those less privileged than us may experience when they are also in a classroom where diversity and cultures are not being embraced.